Are you ready to be unleashed and unstoppable?
Are you ready to experience a breakthrough and step into your next level of leadership?
Living a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms, unapologetically.
This podcast is for discovering how to play big, how to be unleashed and unstoppable.
Through wiring inner success at the source as you step into your full potential as a wildly ambitious leader.
We are
Lianne Carter and
Carol Register. We are certified Master Neurocoaches and the founders of Unleashed and Unstoppable You.
We're best known for being confidence-boosting, neurohacking, productivity, and wealth experts.
And for high-achieving leaders, visionaries, and entrepreneurs.
Now let's be unleashed and unstoppable. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast. Oh my goodness, today we are diving into some juicy stuff. We are looking at discovering wealth secrets and debunking our long-held money myths. And I know that this is so Carol's jam. Like, this is a thing that I swear she like just dreams about this. She eats and sleeps this kind of stuff. Like, this is just her jam, right? Just being able to help you really be able to debunk and really start to embody the way the wealthy think. So, Carol, let's get started here. Let's look at, what is keeping us stuck with our finances? Like, what is coming up for us and how do we bust through this? How do we debunk this and really be able to become unleashed and unstoppable with our finances?
That's such a great question. I love that question. And thank you. This is my jam and how much I love this. It is wonderful to know there are answers for you when you are feeling stuck, when things are standing in your way. And I just want to say, hey, we've all been there. I don't care where you're at on the financial spectrum. If you have a lot of money or you don't have enough money, there are these limiting beliefs and these stories that we operate by, right? Alex, Lianne, what's one of yours? I know for me, it can be, like a business breakdown, a major platform breakdown, or a key staff member leaving. For all of us, I think at some point in our lives, we've had car trouble, unexpected car trouble, a car repair. Or we've had a dentist visit that we were not expecting. And when you have a lot of money, the problems revolve around still thinking in terms of, I don't want to lose it. Mm-hmm. I don't want to lose it. So a couple of reasons that we get stuck are that we're operating from a scarcity or a lack mindset. And that's where we're fearful of losing it when we have it, and we're always trying to get it, right? And that gets wired into our brains. Mm-hmm. And it gets wired in deep into our subconsciouses. And then the other one is also about that we're then trying to outperform our limiting belief. We're trying to outperform our subconscious. And we talk all the time about how you cannot outperform your subconscious, right, Alex?
Exactly,
Lianne?
right?
Yeah. So, where do you see the money beliefs that getting stuck with your finances in terms of the limiting beliefs that you recognize now from the work you've done?
Yeah, I think something that I realized fairly recently actually was the word about being responsible. Like being responsible, like what does that look like? And something that hit me recently was, I never have a hard time usually spending money on myself, but I have a really hard time when other people spend money on me. And I mean, I don't think they could be correlated or not correlated, but just the guilt that I experience, especially growing up around a lot of stories around that there's just not a lot of money, right? We just don't have a lot of money and a lot of arguing around money and just constantly hearing stories about, as you said earlier, the lack, right? And then probably on the other hand or the other spectrum of wanting to be responsible and having this fear of not being responsible. And if I'm not responsible with money, then I could end up, experiencing the lack that I kind of grew up with, and especially having, a young daughter, right? I know for myself, and I think most parents we talk to, right? We want to offer the world to our kids and offer them opportunities that maybe we didn't get to have when we were younger. And just, like kind of kind of going in my mind about this being responsible. What does being responsible with money look like?
Mhm.
And, you, as you said, even like not having it, or, and then feeling like things happen to you, right? Like all of a sudden you have like
Yeah.
all of these expenses and
Yeah.
feeling like this victim of like this all happening. And I'm trying to be responsible. So why does this keep happening? And then
Like you
that,
can't climb out, right?
yeah. And then
Yeah.
it's like you end up constantly feeling like this lack and this
Mm.
pressure and this guilt. And I know there's worthiness underneath that too, right? When we dive deeper
Yeah.
with our clients. But definitely
Yeah.
those are definitely have been the things that have been hitting me a lot lately in terms of, right, as we do the work on
Yeah.
ourselves just like we do with our clients, and getting underneath that as we have to create abundance, right? And really move
Yeah.
away from the lack and look at creating possibility and being responsible, but
Yeah.
getting to define what that gets to look like in terms of money and things like that. So yeah, no, some great questions here, right? And I know we'd love to hear from the audience. Like, what are your thoughts? What are the beliefs? What did you hear growing up? And for me, it was like money
Yeah.
doesn't grow on trees. You need to work hard to be successful. So it's all about
Yeah.
that, the the go go go, the drive drive
Yeah.
drive, because in theory it's like money's not available to you. I think underneath
Yeah.
all that, that's kind of the thought. It's like it's not available to you. You need to really work
Mm.
hard to then create it, and then you got to work hard to even have it. And this fear
Yeah.
of, like you said, losing it, right? Like losing it and
Losing it.
feeling
I
like a
think
failure.
you really touched in on some key points because having a good relationship with money always ties back to how we see ourselves, having a
Mhm.
good relationship with ourselves. And it's those value and worthiness pieces that really it comes back to. And, you mentioned another key piece that many of us grew up thinking, and that is that it's going to be hard to
Mhm.
get, and we have to trade time for money.
Yeah.
We have to go to work for money and
Sacrifice.
get money. Yeah. And so one of the keys that the wealthy know that we can debunk right here, and in fact, several keys, but one of them right here is that you don't become wealthy trading time for money.
Mhm.
And that's because there just simply aren't enough hours in the day to produce a level of wealth beyond the upper middle class. Now, you can rebut with, oh, yeah, okay. There's high paid CEOs. There are, but at that level, it's like a billionth of a percent, right?
Mhm.
Or more or less. And so, you know, for the majority of us living on this planet, it's simply not possible to trade enough time to have the kind of money that will actually make us have the freedom, or not make us be wealthy, is what I was going to say, but to have the freedom, to have the time and the ability to do the things that we want to do, and to have that thriving, healthy,
Mhm.
peaceful, joyful, full, abundant life that we really want, right? And what's a myth that you remember growing up with? You mentioned a couple, and certainly the worthiness piece is huge, and trading time for money, having to work hard. What's another one that you remember, Alex Lianne?
Well, I think this the comparison, right? Of like looking at
Mm,
the different classes and kind of just
yeah.
kind of categorizing yourself and being put in this category, and like that's just your reality, right? And
Yeah.
someone else making that decision of like this is your reality, and hearing that in order to be able to become wealthy or rich, like that there's a lot of lying involved, that there's
Yeah.
a lot of pain involved, and
Mm,
that, like that comparison and just being painted a picture that you'll just never create that. Like it's out of reach for you. Like it's just not
yeah.
possible. And so then you operate again from that limited
Yeah.
mindset, right? And we're all about create limitless for you. But
Yeah.
just again seeing that
Unleashed.
and unleash unstoppable, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then I think it creates this belief around you're like it's not meant for you, right? It's
Yeah.
it's it's meant for
Mm,
them, and they're able to create that next level of success, but it's not for you. Like in order for you to create wealth or income, you've got to work for
Yeah.
it. And so this exchange of time and money, right? Like, you
Yeah.
know, it's becomes that exchange piece. And I think just having done our work, we know that as we're speaking today, like the wealthy do think differently about their
Yeah.
time and about money, and just tapping into possibility. I think another challenge, I mean, being an educator and working the school system, is that we don't get educated on
Mm-mm.
how, you know,
Mm-mm.
money is a tool and it can work for you, right?
Yeah.
It's really programmed of like, you go to school, right? You get education and you go out and get a job.
Yeah.
And then it's, you work these hours and you make this salary, and this is what this creates. And if you want more, well, it requires to go and work a side hustle, right? It requires you to work
Yeah.
on the evenings and the weekends. And I was the best at that. I could go online and find great ways to like make
Yeah.
extra cash, but it was always
Yeah.
an exchange, right? It was always
Right.
an exchange of time
There's
and
always
money.
a price to pay, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right? The sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
That you have like with on your health or spending time with your loved ones. And that's what
Yeah.
we want to help the listener, right? Is
Yeah.
to be able to interrupt that thought pattern and interrupt that belief of what most of us grew up with thinking and believing and being told,
Yeah.
and hearing not so many nice things about those that have money.
Right. That's a huge piece. You know, we hear that they're greedy or that they didn't get it by honest means.
Yeah.
They cheated the system.
Yeah.
They're not nice people. You know, and that we're stuck, we're relegated with this station in life.
Mm-hmm.
This is for us. It's not meant for us to have anymore. This is where you come from, your family backgrounds, and so many key pieces here surrounding the work that you and I do together. Because how would you feel to know that there are real answers and that success leaves clues? And it's so awesome to know that the wealthy do think differently in good and positive ways,
Mm-hmm.
and principles that we also can think by, that we can operate by. And when you know the principles of wealth, when you know how they're thinking differently, when you start to look through a different lens, a different perspective, and things start to shift for you, that's when the magic and miracles happen,
Yeah.
because what we focus on grows. And those clues that are left for us are available for us just like they are for anybody on this planet. And that's what gets me fired up, right? Gets me excited, because you take these principles of wealth and you operate in alignment with your values, with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no longer about being on the hustle bus. It's no longer about having to work harder. Instead, you start to be able to make decisions quickly and easily based on these success principles, these wealth principles, and they're in alignment with your values. And it's one of the ways the wealthy think about how to multiply what they have and how to leverage it.
Leverage. I literally was just that word, just as you were speaking, Carol. I was like, the word leverage, leverage, leverage kept coming to mind here, because
Yeah.
again, it's not something that no one really teaches you how to leverage your time, how to leverage your money. And so
Yeah.
just having that understanding and that knowledge is powerful. Because I was thinking, Carol, like,
Yeah.
where do we start? Like you talked earlier about
Yeah.
relationship, right? And that relationship we have with our finances, and even, you know, it's a reflection of the relationship we have with ourselves and
Yeah.
possibly others, right? So
Right.
where do we start, right? For the listener, how do we help them leverage, right? Really dive into this leverage piece and help them get started with rewriting their story, right? Like changing
Yeah.
the pattern, like letting today be the last day that they're operating from the thoughts and the beliefs that they grew
Yeah.
up with, right?
I
Or that
love
they
that.
had from
Yeah.
society, and to begin to transform their relationship.
I really, really love that question, because it does go back to our worth. And when you work with us, we give you some great interactive exercises and things will help unleash what you are operating by that you're unaware of, not to focus on it, because what we focus on grows, to have an awareness and stop trying to outperform your subconscious and start to shift to using the success principles that do actually work. And we help you to wire those into your neural networks to literally reprogram your brain using a neuroscience process. So, the thing that is super important to get started is to know that just start to gain that awareness. And we're going to really lean in. There's several ways that we can start. One of the easiest ways is leaning into this relationship with ourselves. And, do you have a lot of internal negative chatter? Do you hear those voices in your head telling you can't, it's not possible, and that you're not working hard enough? And, there's a super easy debunk I'm going to throw in there that one of our principles of wealth, every time you start to hear that voice that's telling you that you have to work hard, something we went deep on with one of my clients is start to think in terms of, I can make money in my sleep. People are making money in their sleep all the time. Just completely wipes out that lie that you have to work hard for money. Yeah. Right?
But again, we're not taught this. No one really, it's funny. I was noticing on Netflix, there seems to be more and more like documentaries and episodes around kind of like wealth and busting a lot of myths and things like that to help provide some education, because it is not common knowledge. It's not this, again, our school system and the way that we're taught and grown up is really about going to school, getting your education, and then going out and
going to work for money.
Yeah.
Rather than putting money to work for you.
Yeah. And even entrepreneurs, right? There's still, if you came through this system and, you kind of got programmed in sort of the corporate model box, right? You take that programming with you as an entrepreneur. And so you still find yourself oftentimes doing the same thing, because that's just the programming, right? That's how you've just kind of
what's wired in
the system. Yeah.
And it's not your fault. It's such a good point. It's not your fault. You were bringing in these things about money from your family, your culture, what you were taught in school when you were a child. And we're operating, over 90% of our limiting beliefs came from our childhood. And then we're operating by them, making well over 90, I can't speak today, 90% of our daily decisions from what's wired in, and without an awareness, right? And we talk a lot on the podcast about that, so I won't go deep here. But to get started, I have a really fun little thing to do. I want you to ask yourself, do you remember your first crush? I ask you, do you remember your first crush? I remember mine. Right? And so just stand in the place of your first crush. And did you get a little giggly, a little awkward, like your tongue sticking to the roof of your mouth when you got the chance to say hi, and you're like, can't quite spit it out.
Heart beating like 100 miles a minute, right? Palms are sweaty.
Yes, exactly. And, things that I still do, fooling with your hair and whatever it may be, right? And, maybe you did the silly things for the big crush, like fluttering your eyelashes. And
playing with the hair, as you said, right? Like, fidgeting and fixing the dress or the shirt or whatever it is.
Yeah. And then walking away and finding out, that one of your braces was off or something.
So it's still stuck in your teeth.
That's right. The big piece of spinach right there. It's so true. So when you think about your first crush, if you were anything like Alex, Lianne, and I, you wanted to be at least in their proximity. Maybe you didn't feel brave enough to actually have a conversation, but you wanted to be near them. You wanted to hang out where they were hanging out, and you long for them to call you, right? And you just want to spend time and be with them. So the fun exercise I have for you to get started is pretend like your money and your finances is just like your first crush. And, even if you're very, very successful, I want you to do this. I want you just to go back to having some fun, having some joy, because you can still have that scarcity mindset and those limiting beliefs, no matter where you are at on the financial spectrum. And we know many of you that we work with are leaders and high achievers. So I invite you to trust the process and just look at your money as if it's your first crush, and ask yourself, when you look at it that way, do you avoid it? Are you just perfunctory? And I'm not talking about getting overly emotional here, but I am talking about having happiness and joy and excitement around your money and starting to build a good relationship with this entity that is energy, right? And to be able to experience, the fun that can come when we start to work with our money. Now, we have a whole lot of wonderful principles that are actually extremely practical and will increase your wealth right away. We've been talking, you can go back and tie back to our episode on how to increase your wealth in 15 minutes a day. For another one of the principles we have that we talk about getting started, uber simple, childlike simple. And then that is actually using the neuroscience process. But yeah, so what would you do differently if you started to look at your money like your first crush? Yeah. What would happen? What about you, Alex? Lianne, what comes to mind?
Well, of course, the butterflies come to my stomach, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think what's hitting me right now, Carol, as we're talking about this, we talk about relationship, right? Is that we're looking at how do we look at money differently? Or that's what's hitting me.
Yeah.
Right? Is looking at money versus it being this like really foreign, scary thing that I know many individuals, many achievers, they don't want to look at it because what will it mean about them? What does it say about them? Right.
Yeah.
And really looking at it as a relationship, as like your first crush is, or even just someone that you love and admire. Like to me, what's coming up is changing the energy between you and the finances, you and your, what's the balance that's currently in your bank account. And to me, what's hitting me is being curious.
Yeah.
Right. I know, like even just being curious to think back to your first crush. Cause I mean, it's going to require a little bit of thinking of like, okay, who was that? Or even if it's the first person that pops into your mind, like being curious about it.
Yeah.
And making note of how you felt and what was going on in the moment. And the same with looking at, like going and logging in, right? Going to check what your balance is, but looking at it from a neutral place. I think that's what's coming to me, right? Is because I know myself will put so much, like so much meaning to what's there versus it being information. And that's again, that the relationship and changing that relationship. Right. And because once we have that first crush and then becomes our loved one, like obviously it's different from day one, from when you going up to them all awkward and nervous to when you're now, dating
hanging out.
and now you're engaged or married or something. Right. And I think that's what we want for the audience. We want you all to have a relationship with your money, just like the wealthy do, just like those who are madly in love with their partners, and that you have that same approach to that. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to invite the audience, let them know that we're actually doing, our diamond level goal setting workshop on December 15th. And we want to invite the audience to come join us, because in his workshop, not only are we going to set you up so you can crush 2023, we're going to dive into some of what you've spoken about today, Carol, and really helping our audience work through some of that and show up in 2023 with a completely different identity and a different relationship with their finances. So as we said today, it gets to be that last day that they're operating from everything in the past, and letting you pave your path, your way forward, your vision towards how you, based on the relationship you want to have the money, and so that you can operate just like the wealthy, right?
Yeah, you can operate like the wealthy and
make money in your sleep, like you said, too.
And make money in your
Yeah.
sleep. And I'll just leave you with it's like this. It's like, hey, want to hang out? Yeah. Oh yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to get to know you better. Oh, this looks going to be fun. Okay. See you soon.
Yeah. What if it got to be fun, right? What if the relationship with your finances got to be fun? I think that's so powerful, Carol. So we get to tap into that more with you all on our workshop on December 15th. So head on into the show notes and click register. It is a free workshop. We are pouring in everything that we know that will set you up for success for 2023. And thanks for tuning in to another episode, right? Make sure to follow us, subscribe, connect with us on Instagram at unleash.unstoppable.you. Let us know, right? Let us know what came up for you when you thought about that.
Yes. We would love to know. And I just want to mention that, before, you may not see this on YouTube, you will, but if you just hearing the audio, I picked up my phone, I made a phone call. So just to give you that visual right there about what's possible for you, what you can do. We are total science geeks. Everything you want is absolutely possible. You have the power to create your reality. You have the power to program your brain for the financial success that you want, for the health, the relationships, and as we're so excited to share with you, for a rock star 2023, a breakthrough year. Yes, in the midst of the recession that's going on, you have the power to create the reality that you want. So we will see you next week, right? And please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. We want you to also jump onto our email list so you can be notified about this workshop coming up. And we'll leave a link in the show notes for you. And reach out to us on socials. You can DM us at unleashed.unstoppable.you on Instagram. And we're excited to see you next week. Ciao for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alexandra Carter and Carol Register.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review and subscribe.
That's all for this episode, Wildly Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.